oh my gosh, this is going to be a very painful podcast. I don't think you actually realize just how long it has taken us to get set up for this.
Yeah. We could do a podcast on why that is.
Yeah. No. You know what? Every time that I do this by myself, everything seems to be fine. But as soon as you come along, I think there's all this added pressure of, Steveness. Anyway, before we chime in and start chatting, and I formally introduce you to Steve, because I know there are a lot of new listeners here that have come through the Instagrammer. Yeah. And you're here and you actually haven't heard Steve speak. You've only seen Steve dance.
He's got the moves though.
He's got the moves. He's got the moves. Anyway, for the podcast this year, what I would love to do is once a month at the end of each month, bring Steve on where we actually talk very real, raw and relatable about relationship stuff. Because we have a lot of comments from people that say relationship goals, couple goals. And I really believe that we do have an awesome relationship, but we also have some pretty cool tools that we use when we don't like each other.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
We have the same shit as everyone else.
We have the exact same shit as everyone else.
Better tools to deal with those things.
Well, we have the tools.
Yeah.
We have tools. And having some tools is better than no tools.
You have the ultimate tool. Because I'm a tool.
Yeah. Yes.
I see it.
I see it. Very nice. So at the end of each month, I'll bring Steve on. We'll talk about things that we are either going through currently, sharing how or what's coming up for us, and then how we're going to move through it. And then things that we already have moved through before, what that brought up for us, how we went through it as a couple, and then what we did as a result. Why are you smiling?
I just think the cool twist is I have no idea
what
the topic is today. I've said that I specifically don't want to know because I don't want to come in egoically and have something prepared. It's in a few seconds I find out what the topic is and then we'll see what happens.
Correct. Because beforehand I was like, all right, it's podcast time. Let's construct a topic. And he's like, nah, surprise me. I'm like, I said, is there any topics off limit? So you've been given fair warning.
Yeah.
But
see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But our intention here is to be real, to be raw, and to be relatable. We want to talk about our experience through our experience. We're not here to give advice or whatever it may be. We just want to share to help you, which will eventually help you in your own world of relationships. So what I want to talk about today and what I want to bring to the table is the topic of money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to bring the topic of money because you and I have different earning capacity, or you earn different to I earn different. So there's that layer. There's another layer of we're in a blended family. So your children are not my biological children. So there's the topic around how we navigated my level of contribution to the family, to the children, to our home, etc. When you earn more, and how we navigated it, because there were some tough times in the beginning. You recall?
For you, do you mean?
For us.
Right.
For in terms of
clearly I don't recall.
No, because do you remember?
My memory.
So when I met Steve, when we got together, I was doing okay in my business. I wasn't killing it financially, so to speak, but I was doing okay. I'd bought myself my first little car that was, a step up from what I was driving before, and I felt proud of myself. I could pay my rent, pay my bills, all that kind of stuff. So I'll talk about it from my perspective, and then you can go in. When we got together and when I moved in, I felt this pressure to contribute to the family. I think at the time there was a nanny. You had a nanny?
Yes, there was a nanny.
Early on. You were doing your work, I was doing my work. So in my mind, I'm like, how else can I contribute, or what can I do to contribute? So if we stay on the topic of money, I remember I felt that, I needed to buy groceries for 4 people now, plus a dog, and contribute that way. And my money was going down the toilet, not down the toilet, but, into other people's mouths really fast.
Well, ultimately,
it did into
went
the toilet.
Into the mouth, then it went to the toilet.
It ended in the toilet. You're correct.
Correct. Yeah.
But then I reached a point where we were in Coles.
Yep.
One time in Brighton.
I remember that one.
And tell me from your perspective, because I was having a legitimate panic attack.
Yeah. You probably need to give them a little bit more framework before we get to that.
That's right. Yeah. Share.
So I guess you've explained the situation you were in at the time where I was in is apart from my great dancing skills, I'm a business guy. Yeah. So I have a few companies. I've done very well for myself financially in life. Mm-hmm. And I guess, from an equilibrium point of view, when Kat was coming into our relationship, there was like money bags and Kat was doing okay, right? And I guess the pressure that you're talking about was Kat's coming into an environment where, trips are business class and like houses are on the beach and all that sort of stuff. And then she's like, well, hang on, how do I keep up in this environment?
Because basically I had money to live my own life, singular.
Your standard of life too.
Yeah.
Which you were happy with at the time. Yeah,
absolutely. Correct. Totally happy with. I could still live by the beach, but it was in a 2-bedroom apartment with someone else renting the other room and those kinds of things.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So now that you've got like the full picture of like how we both came into it, right? So I also wasn't aware of
me spending the money.
Correct. Of Kat spending the money and being in this sort of psychological stress. And I'll probably talk about that in a second about why that often happens in relationships, right? But fundamentally where this came to a head is we were in Coles.
Yeah.
And Kat started having like a dead set fucking panic attack in the middle of the tampon aisle. And I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And she said, I've got like $200 left to my name.
Yeah.
And I'm having anxiety about buying these groceries, which was like full-blown news to me. At this point, like she just hadn't shared.
Yeah. And on that, I hadn't shared because I didn't want to feel ashamed that I couldn't contribute to the level of life that you were creating. So there was shame around me speaking up about money, which then, drove me to contribute in ways that I couldn't afford on that regular basis.
Yeah. So the way this particular situation resolved itself, do I go into that bit?
Sure.
Yeah. So when I found out about it, I basically said, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're having a panic attack in Coles while like I don't have to work ever again. That literally doesn't work for me. So I transferred a whole bunch of money into your account and said, let's just deal with that. And then we got on with our day. But then we started to obviously
we needed to have some chats.
Have a chat, right? So I think it's an interesting one because even though, and we can stick to the topic of money, but I think in general, what it shows is that communication is always the key. And one thing we do incredibly well is we communicate quickly, we communicate honestly,
very honestly,
and we don't sweep shit under the rug.
Yep.
Right. And so many people, who ask us when you actually deep dive a little bit into their whatever specific circumstances, the first thing you find out is they're not actually even communicating it. Yep. So they're like, oh, my partner won't do this. And it's like, well, have you told them? It's like, well, no. It's like, well, fuck, I'm not a mind reader. Other people aren't mind readers.
Absolutely.
So step one is tell me there's an actual thing that we have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. But again, you can appreciate why, like money, I think does come first and foremost for quite a lot of people, shame. And then, because I have friends who are in blended families and they too have difficulty talking about, well, shit, if we move into a house together, I wouldn't actually move into this kind of house. So what portion should I be paying? I don't think I should be paying half of the house or half of the bills. You know what I mean? And I think it would be awesome for us to talk to that and how we navigated working out what was fair. Because I think what we always wanted to do once we started talking about things was be fair.
100%.
Be fair to where you're at, to be fair to where I'm at, and also the other ways that I contribute to the family that aren't financial but are priceless.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that was very clear is there's different ways that you can define value in anything, right? and I guess for me going into a relationship with you, I never, if I wanted someone to bring to the table money, then I wouldn't have gone out with you, right?
Yeah.
I wanted the value that you bring to the family, which, as you said, is priceless, is around heart. It's around, you know, looking after the kids, in not looking after them in terms of like babysitting, in terms of like, emotionally holding them and building them up to be better people. And equally to that, it's also about, there's also shame on the other side of the fence too.
For you?
Well, yeah, because if you're the rich one, right?
Yeah.
There's guilt around, like, you know, oh, but to make it fair, you know, like maybe we need to go back a little bit more. I'd come out of a relationship where I'd been like pretty scarred from a financial perspective in terms of things that had happened. So my guard was up, so to speak, in that regard, that it might happen again. But there's also the flip side is that like fair might be that you, let's say we buy a house, well, your percentage of the house would be X.
Yeah.
And then, but the wealthier person also feels a bit guilty about that. Because it's like,
yeah, you have spoken about that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel nice to know that, okay, well, if we ever separate, you know, you're going to get like 11%. But it is fair.
It's fair.
But also feels a bit yuck, because you feel like you feel
you feel greedy.
Yeah, like a greedy fucker. But it's like you're not. No, you're being fair.
That's just exactly. And I think that's where, like I said, that's the premise that we wanted to then move forward with. We want it to be fair. Like, what is it that I can contribute to? How does that work when, you know, you do have children and you do want a particular sized home for them and whatever else, and there's more mouths to feed, etc. So yeah, I want to talk into how we decided that.
So basically, to cut to the very end, the solution that we basically agreed on is which I was totally happy with.
Because you were the money guy that
correct,
figured it out.
So the way that I figured it out is whatever Kat was prepared to spend on her lifestyle before, is what Kat would spend on her lifestyle now. So for example, she had a BMW 120, was worth about 40 grand. I wanted to put her into a Tesla. Was worth like 110 grand. So her part of the repayments on that car is whatever she would have spent on the BMW, and anything else is on me. And that's totally okay, because she doesn't want the shit that I want. Right?
Correct.
So she may be the beneficiary of driving a cooler car, but the reality is she doesn't actually give a fuck about it.
Yeah.
But if I do, then why would she have to deal with the pressure?
Yeah.
Right? So we did the same thing with the house. It's like, okay, well, you came out of a 2-bedroom unit. You could afford that. If I want to put us in a much bigger house close to the beach, then
I will pay the
pay
portion
this
that
much.
I was happy in.
Correct. But equally to that, we then work out what does that portion look like in relation to the value of the house.
Yeah.
And if we ever did split, which won't happen. Sorry, ladies.
Sorry.
Sorry. If it ever happens though, you guys will be the first to know. Then
they will be, actually, because I'll be talking about it on the podcast, crying.
Then we have an agreement about, okay, well, then your percentage is X, and there's a really clear-cut situation that, you know, whatever the house sells for, we know the percentages, and it all works out. And look, for some of you, it might sound clinical, but fuck, man.
My friend and I were talking about this the other day.
The amount of angst that this removes by actually just addressing some shit up front is so much better fundamentally for your relationship. It's not cold. It's clean. It doesn't allow like people to build resentment and shit up underneath.
Remember when in the beginning, like I was saying to you, not in the beginning, but once we'd sorted that out, I remember I was saying to you, like, what's my registration? What's my this? What's my that? And you were like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
That was the guilt I was talking about.
Yeah. And so remember, whenever you and I would get into disagreements about something absolutely off topic of money, and you would be mad at me because you would think that I was being selfish and ungrateful, you would always bring the shit up that you were providing for me. But I was like, but dude, I'm not asking for you to provide that for me. I'm asking you, what's my registration? What's this? What's that? Tell me what it is. And don't you remember that day when
so I had mega guilt.
Yeah, let's talk to that when I transferred you that cash.
So So I was basically being sneaky, right? So we had made this agreement, but I would see Kat struggle, and I wouldn't want to put like bills onto her. So basically, I was just started to pay for stuff myself.
Yeah, because that's sort of at a time when when my business was going up and booming, but not where it is now, where I'm very comfortable.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And so I would just like renege on our little deal, and I'd like pay for Rego, and I'd pay for this, and I'd pay for that, and I just wouldn't mention it. And if it ever did get brought up, I would say don't worry about it. But then it was, it was obviously still there, as like a thing.
It was still there whenever I would piss you off about something, or when I appeared ungrateful to you, and then that would like rear its head like a great big dirty wound, and you'd spray it on me whenever you'd be pissed off with me.
It was whenever.
No, like we don't fight big, but whenever we would, that would come up.
Yes. Yeah, it would. I mean, I can't remember, I've got a shit memory, but when it did come up, yes, it would come up. And so one day, Kat said, well, fucking, what do I owe you? And see, even saying that makes me feel disgusting. What do I owe you? It's like, I don't like it. I'm a generous guy. So I feel bad. I mean, this podcast is not about me, but I feel bad when I'm in a position where like I want for nothing. I feel bad when I know that by asking someone to repay something, it actually will affect them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But anyway, so we did it. And it was like 35 grand.
Yeah, it was.
I walked out of my office and I'm like, it's like 35K. And she's like, do it. Yeah. Transfer it now. I want to know it's done. And then remember, you then said, I want a weekly repayment that covers everything.
Yeah.
And we did that.
Yeah, and we did it. And that was probably the final part of the cleanliness between you and I and money. Plus we opened a joint account together that whenever the kids are with us, I would use that joint account, which is basically it's Steve's money that I would have access to whenever we'd go shopping or buy the girls stuff, earrings, clothes, whatever else. Because the girls and I enjoy doing that. But we agreed that that's for you to pay.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, there'll be times where I do pay and I don't mind, but it saved us. It doing all of that, the joint account, my portion of what's the house and whatever else and bills, etc. Basically, I'm a quarter of all of us.
Yeah, correct.
Rather than 50-50, because neither of us, and again, this is going to be different for you, but neither of us felt like that was fair.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also realized that day when you paid that stuff back and we set up your repayments, I was actually denying Kat
empowerment,
the ability to be empowered, because the reality was she could afford it and she can pay it and she doesn't need my fucking saving.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a really nice feeling, like a weight had even lifted off my shoulders. Not that I cared about the physical money. It was more the fact that it's like, fuck, cool, like you're stepping up.
Yeah.
And that empowers you to be more responsible and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. But it also doesn't tie into your egoic story of people taking advantage of you.
Yeah,
because that is something that's a wound of yours. So if ever I was being a little turd or like wasn't appreciative of something, that wound would activate. And whatever we might have been arguing about superficially, that would be the wound that would create a bit of a shitstorm, right?
Yeah, correct. And like an example of that was one of the conversations, albeit it was probably an argument, if I remember correctly, that led us to sort of starting this process was when I was wanting to get a better car. And you had like a lot of angst, and you're like, and I was like, hey, I'm getting this for you. And there was this moment where you're just like, I don't fucking want it.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was bad because one, it triggered the fuck out of me because I'm like, you ungrateful little fucker. But then once I took a step back, it was like, well, hang on a minute. Her goals and my goals aren't necessarily the same. And who am I to judge what you want versus what I want? And look, that's probably a big one, because relationships are hard, right? You've got two different people with two different entirely different views of the world trying to like navigate together. And having, you often hear, couples have to have the same goals. It's like, that's not true.
Yeah.
You can have completely independent goals, but support each other on going for those goals.
Yeah.
As long as you communicate what they are in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So, and look, like you said, it is going to be different for everybody. Some of you will be looking at this just going, fuck, I'm never showing my partner this podcast. I'm fucking very happy with the way it is right now. And other people will be like, this could actually like help me out. It certainly, it certainly is a factor. And look, we know people who have got together in similar circumstances to this.
That's it.
Who haven't had these chats.
No.
And it is a fucking shit show. Yeah. No one knows where they stand. Yep. There's like gameplay going on. There's all sorts of weird shit around it. It's not clean.
No.
And whenever we've said, hey, go and have these chats, make it like really clean cut. It doesn't happen because there's fear around what that chat will bring.
And even like if you think about it, like we've booked a trip to Europe, and you like to travel business class. I like to travel business class too,
but not enough to pay.
But not when they're that expensive. Like they're expensive this time around. So we agreed that I would pay for the economy portion.
Yep.
And then again, whatever, I'm like, I'm happy to sit in economy. And he's like, no, I want you with me. I'm like, okay.
Has learnt how to play the game in relation to this, clearly.
No, but that's true. That's how we still continue to have those conversations because they're important. They're necessary. We bought some new furniture and it's like, all right, cool. Well, I wouldn't buy 500 chairs because if I was living in my 2-bedroom apartment, it wouldn't even fit. Like, I know it sounds maybe petty, maybe, oh gosh, guys, calm down with the splitting of things. But I don't know. I think it really helps us.
I think it definitely helps you more now.
How do you mean? Like financially? Financially.
6 years on, like, it's not the same as when we first got together. Like, I'd spend whatever I had to spend for you. But I think for you now, like, knowing that you've got this number that you contribute to things, you feel good, like you're not taking advantage.
No. So correct. Yeah, but
so even if it comes down to furniture and stuff, it's like,
correct. It's contributing like what is realistic for me rather than contributing what I think I should to match you.
Yeah.
Because that is what put, that was my egoic story that put pressure on me, that then created weirdness between us, resentment toward him. And he's like, I don't know why you'd be fucking resentful, because I don't know why you're resentful, because you haven't told me that you're buying all these groceries for the kids. Like, we just hadn't had the conversation. And I guess in my mind, I was thinking, well, he should have the conversation with me because he's the one that's got the kids. But neither of us have been in blended families before. So we had to work it out, and we had to work it out by communicating.
Yeah, but I think, and it's also...
Stop hitting the pillow.
Okay. Money just isn't on my radar. So it wouldn't even cross my mind that you're having an issue with money, because I don't think about money.
You think about money.
No. I think about how to make more money.
Yeah.
I think about how to like build businesses, but I don't think about money like a budgety person thinks.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't ever sit there going, oh fuck, is this on on special so I can buy it?
Yeah.
So I don't think the same way as you were thinking at that time, which is why it didn't cross my mind.
Yeah.
Which is why in the end, no matter what your financial position is, if you are in a 2-speed relationship financially with someone else, have the chat.
Definitely.
Like,
and as early as you can.
Totally.
Those hard, awkward conversations as early as you can.
Yeah, the ones that if you hold off for 2 years and then you find out there's a complete disconnect that's going to like completely fuck you because you're on different pages.
Yeah. Like,
save time.
Yeah.
Have the chat.
Yeah.
And we do that now, in relation to everything. Everything.
Yeah. I can tell you this much, legends, that having these hard chats with Steve earlier on in our relationship, it really did help us a lot. As you heard me speak, there was a lot of stress, a lot of angst, a lot of feelings of worthlessness and shame and not good enough, etc. But then you also equally heard from Steve the guilt and shame that he felt about being in a higher financial position, but still, saying, all right, cool, well, transfer me this. But that was my call. Truly, if it was up to him, he would have just been like, cool, no worries, you're just a part of the family and I'll provide. But for someone like myself, being financially empowered and independent is really important to me. So it really did bring up all of our stuff to take a look at, to heal, and to work through together. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode of the Real Raw Relatable podcast. Please let us know if you did. Email us at info@catjohn.com.au. Let us know if you end up having a chat with your partner or what insights that came up for you. And if you have any topics that you would love us to speak to, let us know. Again, email us at info@catjohn.com.au. Once a month, I'll be bringing Steve on to the podcast and we'll be talking all things relationships, how we navigate it powerfully so we can get on with enjoying our relationship and focus on bigger matters other than, I need to provide for the family that even though I can't afford it, which has us then focusing on the matters that are only going to create more stress and angst. Sending you lots of love. I hope you have an ace week ahead of you, and I'll see you in your earballs next Monday. Peace be with you.